Good morning, everyone. How was that for a fast start at DX3 this morning? My name is Miglena Nikolova, and I'm the president of the American Marketing Association Toronto chapter and a marketing lead at IBM. I am going to be your host for this session. Thank you for choosing to be with us at this super dynamic conference at AMA Toronto. We're really excited to partner with DX3 once again virtually. Of course, we miss the buzz and the live interaction. We love the energy of the real events. So let us see some action in the chat. Please connect, share, and of course, ask some questions. We hope to be able to get to those a little bit later on. Thank you. And now let's go to our conversation. It is my pleasure today to be moderating this session on the changing role of the Chief Marketing Officer in the digital world. Now, even before the pandemic struck, CMOs of retailers had already been facing a host of challenges. How to win in the new digital economy, a plethora of new technologies, data and personalization the way we've never seen before, and of course, fast shifting talent requirements. Add COVID to the mix and you have a perfect storm. Trends that were already happening have been hugely amplified. And amidst this storm, we have seen many retail businesses completely obliterated. But we have also seen some incredible, groundbreaking innovation. And all the difference in the world has been the ability of retail companies to digitally transform, to completely rethink how they're connecting to their customers. So what has been the role of the CMO in leading this transformation? Joining us for this session are four amazing leaders: Susan Irving, CMO of Kruger; Trinh Tham, CMO of Harry Rosen; Stephen Bailey, CMO of Fluevog Shoes. And we're thrilled to have these brands on the panel, iconic brands who do not need much of an introduction. We also have joining us Allison Humphries, who is the VP of Strategy at Appnovation. I would like to take an opportunity to recognize Appnovation as the sponsor of our panel today. For those of you who may not be familiar with the company, its name stands for Applied Innovation. Appnovation is a digital full-service digital consultancy helping their clients navigate constant change by placing customers first and creating innovative digital experiences that are derived from human truth. They also have a booth here at DX3, so be sure to stop by for a chat and learn more. Allison is a seasoned marketing leader with deep expertise in innovative customer-first strategies for some of the world's leading brands. Over the years, she's worked at top-tier global advertising and digital experience agencies. And now, as Vice President of Strategy at Appnovation, she leads a team of strategy and insights professionals across North America who are committed to delivering positive outcomes for their clients' success. Welcome. So Allison, you have been focused on helping businesses become digital businesses, and you've worked with many CMOs to help them reimagine and reposition their brands. Thus, I feel you're uniquely positioned to give us a 30,000 feet view. What would you say has been the role of the CMO, and how have you seen the CMOs lead in the digital space over the last year?
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks, Miglena. Now, with experience really becoming and surpassing product and price as the key differentiator for brands, we're seeing an inherent shift in how we need to think about the role of the CMO. We know that highly valued experiences lead to improved customer retention, improved upsell and cross-sell opportunities, as well as improved customer satisfaction overall. So, it's really critical to prioritize your customer's experience with your brand. Now, when we think about digital transformation, the notion of it hasn't necessarily changed, but how we think about it is definitely different than the way we used to think about it. Technology, digital transformation is so much more than a technology roadmap. And particularly when you think about the changing expectations around us, digital has the ability to become a very powerful underpinning for your brand's competitive advantage. So, that being said, marketing needs to play a much more collaborative role in the overall customer experience. Really thinking about, how the brand purpose is being reflected consistently throughout the experience, how we're moving beyond simply selling to both selling and serving. And then also thinking about how, digital can play a larger role in bringing value to both online and physical interactions with the brand. So, that means that the role of the CMO really becomes the glue of the organization. There's defining a North Star that is future leaning is critical, but doing so in a way that is anchoring marketing, sales, and technology, who often have differing agendas to a common way forward and common goals. The role of the CMO is very much the voice of the customer, as well as the guardian of the brand experience. So they're uniquely positioned to be able to ensure that every single facet of the organization, whether it be from a customer-facing perspective or how the organization is enabling the experience in the background, are effectively and consistently bringing value to your customers.
I love that the role of the CMO really becomes the glue of the organization. What do you see are key challenges for the clients that you have been working with?
Yeah, I would say probably one of the biggest challenges that we see our clients faced with today is around data. Many of them come to us and they're challenged with the fact that, they have data coming in from a number of different sources, but they really have no clear sense of how to bring it all together to form actionable insight around their business and their customers, and then use it to their advantage to define or enable a more personalized experience. So that, that being said, there's, it's really critical to ensure that you have that data foundation in place. We conducted a research study recently, and it really examined the shifting expectations of the digital consumer. And we looked at it across a number of different industries, but what we found in the retail space in particular was that over half of the people that responded said that they felt that digital-enabled solutions were very important, if not a deal breaker when it came to their retail experiences. And then looking into the not too distant future, 85% expect brands to bring a seamless experience to both their online shopping and physical in-store interactions over the next year or so. So that means that brands really need to move quickly to mobilize around bringing cohesion to the experience. Using data as sort of that underpinning to ensure that that cohesion actually happens. But I think it's also important to ensure that when you do so, you're not losing that sense of humanity that people crave.
That's great. I'm wondering, you said 85% expect brands to offer seamless experience. I wonder whether the others just simply did not respond. Well, thank you. It's been definitely a lot to unpack here. Thank you for sharing these observations. So I'm now going to turn to our CMOs on the panel to double click on some of these themes and have them share their experience. Susan, I'd like to get your perspective first. As the Chief Marketing Officer for Kruger Products, you're responsible for leading the marketing teams to set the vision, strategic direction, and drive business performance for all of Kruger Products brands and marketing activities in Canada and the US. Among them, Cashmere Bathroom Tissue, Canada's top-selling brand, Scotties, sponge towels, etc. In other words, as essential as it gets. So you're an accomplished and award-winning senior marketing executive with over 2 decades of experience leading many successful and well-known brands at Warner Lambert, Coca-Cola, and PepsiCo. You took the helm at Kruger in January of 2020. And by March, you had to throw out all the advertising and marketing plans out the window and start fresh. Not only that, you also had to tell consumers not to buy your product. And by August, you had launched a new brand platform. So tell us about that journey. Like, what was it like?
Great question. I'm not so sure how I would have answered the question, or if I would have taken the role if I was told that 8 weeks in, there'd be a pandemic and all of your products would be completely out of stock. Dino Bianco, our CEO, is just an incredible leader, and he really takes managing from the heart and doing the right thing. And I think, just in terms of the mission of our organization, which is making everyday life more comfortable, we really took that mission as we moved consumers home, as we wanted to make sure our mills were safe, and then doing the right thing, obviously, for all of our customers in terms of treating everyone equitably and fairly, given everyone was out of stock. So really, just last year was about doing the right thing for our consumers, doing the right thing for our partners and our customers, and doing the right thing for our colleagues. It was a crazy year last year. We didn't even have Teams or Zoom when we moved everyone home in March, because we were such a face-to-face organization. So it just was a movement, if you will, of changes, again, to make sure that our 3 C's were taken care of. You're on mute.
Would you tell us a little bit about your new campaign?
Yeah, sure. So we have a new campaign out because we had to change all of our advertising. It's called Unapologetically Human. So when you think about our categories of tissue, obviously there's certain things you don't want to talk about. And what you see in this category advertising is really talking about the functional benefits and typically softness, right? You see a lot of bears and cats. Really talking about kind of the softness of the product. Coming out of the pandemic, we shot the first ad in Canada and aired it starting on August 17th. Broken Heart Love Affair, our agency, and Mark Siebert was the director. And really this campaign was to really show we're all in this together and we're all human, and it's our humanity that connects us. So the ad really talks about the fact that, we all cry. We all bleed, we all have snotty noses, we all make messes, and yes, of course, we all go to the bathroom, which just unites us all. So it really flipped the category on its head, and it's been well received within not only in Canada, we aired it in the US, but we've been getting global praise. So yeah. Quite exciting when, when Allison was talking about brand purpose, right? When you start driving brand purpose, even in a staple category or a very functional category, if you will, or some people would say, essential or a commodity. It's amazing what you can do when you find an insight that really links with our consumers.
Amazing. Thank you. Very interesting. Obviously, you had to navigate completely uncharted territory, and looks like you pulled some incredible magic there. Trinh, like Susan, you took the role, the CMO role at Harry Rosen, not long before the pandemic struck. I believe it was November 2019. A little bit longer time to prepare. Harry Rosen, of course, Canada's leading luxury menswear retailer, a beloved Canadian story. Throughout your career, Trinh, you've launched and driven the growth of some of Canada's favorite retail brands, including Loblaws, President's Choice, No Name, Sobeys, Safeway, Foodland, Thrifty Foods, Tim Hortons, Bell Media, and Grand & Toy. Someone told me your resume reads like a directory of a mall, high-end mall. So I always think of that. How prepared were you, Trinh, for what unfolded on March 13th? Could you tell us about that?
That's so interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think as we're coming up on the anniversary of the beginning of the lockdown, I think all of us are doing a lot of reflecting on the things we did and things we would do differently and the things that worked really well. And, you know, in terms of prepared, I don't think anyone's could have been prepared for what we've gone through. And we've all been so resilient, and I've been so impressed by how companies and people have just figured out ways to make things work despite the challenges. In terms of Harry Rosen, I would say we were as prepared as I think the company could have been. Luckily, we had just gone through our long-term strategic planning. We were actually, I think I had 2 months on Susan there in terms of timing, but we had kind of come through our brand strategy work. And, you know, we knew that it was very clear we had a mandate to move forward with the business and digital transformation. And so since then, we've been on a journey to be a more purpose-led, experience-based digital company. I know that's a mouthful, but that would sum up, you know, basically what our mandate is. And so going into the pandemic, we were ready to catch the ball on digital transformation. We were ready to make the required changes. And we were, because, you know, in fashion, you know, we have a lot of ties to Milan and China. We were actually watching what was happening abroad as early as January. So this, for us, the pandemic didn't really just hit in March, it hit in January for us. We were already concerned about logistics. We were already concerned about the slowdown of getting product for our spring season. But at home, it wasn't until, to be honest, the sports teams started to announce their postponements of their season that we started to really feel like things were heating up. So as everything was starting to heat up in our feeds, our first thought went to the safety of our people, of our customers, and just to ensure that we were safe. And I remember back then, everything was all about safety and health and making sure that we were communicating in that way and being very empathetic about it. But you know, once we started,
you linked fashion with safety with one of your inventions.
Yeah. And so I'll talk about that in a sec. So, you know, we decided to really cancel pretty much everything that we had going on, all our traditional media. We were just about to do some production and decided that, you know, that wasn't the right thing. We spent all weekend right before the lockdown, pivoting all of our plans and kind of basically stripping everything down to almost nothing and building it back up. And we reallocated resources to digital and basically built a new strategy from there.
Amazing. Well, it's very interesting, and especially how, you know, for a non-essential business, fashion, like you've been able to navigate so well and build new connections with your customers. So we'll come back to you in a second. Let's park that. And I'd like to introduce Stephen, who is also on our panel. He is the Fluevog CMO and a veteran at your company compared to the other panelists with 15 plus years working that brand. You're charged with telling the world about John Fluevog, a great Canadian success story, and their unique souls for unique souls. I love that. You talked about how in the past 15 years, you have increased Fluevogger engagement through various social media and crowdsourcing efforts that have contributed to the company being included as one of the world's top 10 most innovative companies in the fashion industry by the creative business experts at Fast Company. Like Trinh, you were leading a non-essential business in a pandemic that had a lot of focus on that word.
By the way, yeah.
We would be curious for you to share your experience, how it was different or similar than what Trinh talked about.
Thanks very much. I think it's funny because I think, you know, the only reason we're still here is because there's a whole bunch of fantastic Fluevoggers who would claim that we are essential. But I say that with jest. Obviously, there's a lot of thanks that goes out to everybody that is true essential workers. I think for us, you know, we had just finished brushing up on our global pandemic emergency plan, so it actually wasn't very stressful for us. that's a joke. We didn't have a plan in place. It was hugely stressful, of course. I think, for us as a marketing team and at Fluevog in general, our goal is to kind of add value beyond the product. Once we get that product, and what changed hugely immediately for us was that people's values and focus changed overnight, and so that's both our staff and teams, and I know that everybody listening to this and everybody who's on this panel will agree that internally was just as stressful as externally. We all love the people that we work with, and taking care of each other was very important as well. But then the changes in our customers' emotions and in their shopping habits as well. Basically everything getting flipped on its head. I think for us, our first instinct, like a lot of people's, was to focus all our energies on panic and cutting every dime that was going out the door. Thankfully, we changed that. Probably it might have been a matter of hours, but maybe days, thankfully. And then kind of go ahead.
Yeah, I was amazed to see that in April you were already launching a new product that became quite the story. Can you tell us about that?
Well, I think, I will just say, just on the digital side of the CMO, we moved some of our spending to areas that we would never have thought that we would increase spending or add budget for. And I think, that was one of those things. It's like everybody, we had always been focused on improving our capabilities on e-commerce and digital. And before the pandemic, oftentimes it's like you have the choice to focus on the important things, but you also have to spend time focusing on the urgent things. And this kind of put those two things together immediately. So if just like Trinh at Harry Rosen, I know those guys were looking closely at making some major changes, and we were as well. That went out the window for about 2 months, and then it came rushing back in the window. And anybody who's in that space as well, any of those suppliers knows that people were beating down their doors to increase capacity. In terms of what you're talking about, we did launch a shoe called the Dr. Henry, which is a shoe that's named after BC's, shout out to Vancouver and BC, by the way, to BC's health officer here, who became a pretty instant celebrity, like a lot of people in that role around the world. And it just, it was one of those things that was kind of unavoidable. She is a very dedicated Fluvogger. She was the only celebrity in town at the moment. And if we hadn't have done something with her, we would have been highly criticized. And so, yeah, we launched a pre-sale because our factories were also suffering from COVID shutdowns in Portugal. So we launched a pre-sale, which we've never done before. So we were trying all these new things, and it just destroyed our website. Yeah, which is good, but was very stressful.
Which is good, and highlights also the importance of technology, obviously. And you were talking about, investing in new platforms.
I'll just tell you. I know we're conscious of time, but I mean, we moved after that. We subscribed to a platform or a service called Qit, which was what Ticketmaster uses, and everybody when they have these rushes to their website. Now, for us, if you'd have asked us in the last 40 years if we would ever spend that amount of money on an add-on or what we would consider an add-on, we would never ever consider it. And suddenly it saved our website for the next 6 months as Amazing. Traffic continued to grow.
So leading agile in such adverse situations. So I am looking really at the time, and there is so much interesting conversations and themes that we could discuss with all of these brands. And one of the things we talked about, obviously, the digital technology, launching new platforms. Other topics that came up were about the speed, how it was so important to quickly pivot. Talked about data. Trinh, you had a really interesting example with data with one of one of your holiday sales, you had to pivot in real time, reading the data. Can you quickly tell us about it? I say quickly. You're on mute, Trinh. You're on mute.
I'm on mute, so I'll be quick. So you're referring to the discussion you and I had around Boxing Week, and at that point in the year, many retailers had gone through many different iterations of promos, so we were testing and learning throughout the year. By the time we got to Boxing Week, which, as you know, most of us know, for many retailers, our holiday season represents about half of our annual revenue, so we had to get it right, and we had a really great plan for the whole week. Planned out based on customer behavior in the year thus far. But something just wasn't sitting right with me. And I looked at the data, I had another once over, and I remember very clearly it was December the 24th. And I looked at it and thought, we don't have enough going on, enough energy going on for the early part of the day. And I didn't want to get to December the 26th and worry about whether or not we were going to hit our sales target. I wanted to smash it. So I realized that we needed to day part some of our activity. And because of digital, because it was almost an online, a strictly online play, because our stores were again locked down and shut down. At the very last minute, we got the team together. We came up with a new promo to drive sales from 12 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Boxing Day. And we were sitting there on Boxing Day watching the scoreboard pretty much because we had a war room set up on Teams, and we hit our daily target by 12 p.m.
It's amazing.
And to the point where I had to double check. So we were really excited about that, and you can see the power of how these tools can help us.
Love this story for how you lead in that moment and the insight. Like I think Allison was talking about the importance of data, but also the having the insight. Susan, I will quickly come to you to tell us about how you leverage digital in unexpected ways to connect with your customers where that was not possible before when it comes to your Cashmere signature event. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm always excited to talk about the Cashmere collection, and I'll try to make this quick because I know we've got 3 minutes. So for those of you that don't know, the Cashmere collection, as we call it, Fashion with Compassion, is an event that we've been doing for 17 years now. And basically, it's a fundraising program and an awareness program for the Canadian Breast Cancer Foundation, the Canadian Cancer Society. So we partner with them, and what we do every year is we find 15 up-and-coming fashion designers in Canada, and we've launched many of their careers. And basically, the challenge is, and we start pretty much in November on a theme. This year's theme was Masquerade Ball. Who knew that bathroom tissue and masks would be the hottest commodities in 2020? But the theme was actually chosen in November of 2019. But basically, what happens is these 15 fashion designers actually design beautiful gowns and masks this year out of bathroom tissue. So it was a very difficult year. They weren't, they had to do it alone given the pandemic. And typically the event is at the Golden Mail Center, and we have all the media there and coveted guests. Only 350 people can attend. You vote online for your favorite. But basically this year with the pandemic, we couldn't do it live. We were only allowed in September when we filmed it for the event.
And you reached how many?
50 people. So we could only have 50 people there. But we partnered, Bell Canada, as our Bell Media helps us. And basically, we did a Facebook Live event. So we had to completely pivot and turn it into a digital event. So instead of 350 people attending, there was a good 10,000 people watching it live on the day through the social.
Love this.
And Josie was our curator. So, not only was it aired live on Facebook, it was on the social feed for a good month. And then we got a ton of PR. So just a great example of, how
Susan,
we probably pivoted digital a long time ago.
I'm going to say, amazing. Thank you for sharing that story. I couldn't not share that with the audience. So Allison at Appnovation, she's written recently a report where she talks about the trends for the year ahead. So I do encourage you to pick it up at their booth. And Allison, in closing, if there was one thing that the audience should walk away with, what should it be?
Yeah, I would say that if there's one thing to walk away with, it's the understanding that the only thing that's constant is change. So, for the CMO, it's really important to build brand resilience by really paying close attention to the customers and the changing customers' expectations. But, and also, staying true to the North Star, but doing it in a way that, is creating some openness to experimentation.
Amazing.
Experimentation is very much rooted in human truth. And then, that way, that you can much more easily adapt to the changing expectations around us and really really benefit from the value that the evolving digital landscape can bring to your brand.
Great. Well, thank you for summing up so well some of the topics. And again, we are out of time. Thanks to everyone for joining our panel today. And may I add, it's not just brands that need to be resilient, but as these CMOs have shown, CMOs also must be resilient, navigating in real time, driving digital transformation, and keeping their foot firmly on the accelerator pedal. So setting the tone for what's ahead, the one thing I'm walking away with is the need for brands and experience to be first and foremost human or unapologetically human. Thank you so much for joining us. And since we've been talking about the CMO, I'm going to make a quick plug for AMA Toronto. We are hosting an event next week with former CMO of Kruger, Nancy Marcus, who is going to talk about breaking with conventions, how appropriate for the role of the CMO in the digital world. Thank you and have a great conference. It's been a pleasure.